A low rumble under the roar of the ocean, waves pounding against steel hulls. They were supposed to be the future of the fleet, sleek, modern frigates, quietly slipping across the oceans, silent sentinels of American naval power. But in late 2025, the United States Navy made one of its most consequential decisions in decades. The ambitious Constellation-Class guided missile frigate program, once billed as a backbone of tomorrow's surface fleet, was cancelled. 4 ships, still on the drawing board, were scrubbed. 2 partially built hulls might still see completion, but the rest were dead in the water. The promise of 20-plus modern frigates vanished almost overnight. That decision rippled through the Navy's industrial base, its strategic calculus, and perhaps most importantly, through the minds of every sailor and ship designer who had dared to imagine a different future. The backlash was immediate. The Constellation program had started with high hopes. Based on the proven Italian design FREMM frigate, the idea was simple: take a successful European design and adapt it into a U.S. warship, saving time and cost compared to building from scratch. By 2020, contracts were awarded, shipyards mobilized, and for a time, it looked like the plan would succeed. But by 2025, paint was peeling. The core problem: repeated design changes. What began as a risk-reduced copy of an existing frigate morphed into something entirely different, heavier, more complex, burdened by U.S. requirements that the original design had never intended. By the time design work was largely finished, the new U.S. Constellation frigates bore little resemblance to their FREMM ancestors. Weight had ballooned so much that the top speed and maneuverability would have been severely compromised. Some estimates placed the weight growth at several hundred tons beyond acceptable limits. For decades, the Navy had balanced ambition and pragmatism, building destroyers, carriers, subs, but also smaller ships like frigates that could patrol, protect convoys, and exert influence in littoral zones. The Constellation-Class was supposed to correct a critical gap in that balance. Its failure shook confidence in that model. But the cancellation was not just about technical shortcomings. It exposed a deeper truth about the Navy's changing mindset, a shift from buy fast, buy many, to buy smart, buy few. In a statement terminating the program, John C. Phelan, Secretary of the Navy, said he would not spend $1 unless it strengthened readiness or the ability to win. What does that mean for sailors, strategists, planners? It means a recalibration of priorities. Over the next years, the Navy intends to reinvest in fewer, more capable ships. Not dozens of medium frigates, but a mixture of advanced destroyers, replenishment oilers, surveillance and logistics ships, and improved submarines. For example, the continued expansion of the logistic support fleet with the John Lewis-class replenishment oiler program aims to keep carrier strike groups operational without returning to port. And as the fleet's surface makeup changes, so too does the trajectory of naval doctrine. Where once medium frigates might have patrolled coasts and escorted convoys, the emphasis may shift towards distributed lethality, undersea dominance, and integrated networks. But behind the dry analysis of contracts and tonnage lies something more human. For every naval architect who spent months salvaging the Constellation design, for every shipyard worker who welded, riveted, hammered, for every sailor who trained for a future aboard these ships, the cancellation felt like a betrayal. Hope deferred. Careers disrupted. Plans derailed. Still, in the austere glow of dockyard lights, shipbuilders don't give up so easily. The U.S. Navy's resolve to build 19 new warships in fiscal 2026, an increase compared to prior years, shows that the fleet is not shrinking. It is transforming. Newer programs, smaller, smarter, more modular, are rising. The emphasis is on flexibility, logistical vessels, surveillance ships, fleet oilers, destroyers, submarines. Ships optimized not for elegant balance, but for lethality, endurance, adaptability, a navy that can respond to threats fast, anywhere, under sea or over water. In a way, the death of Constellation is the birth of something else. A less glamorous, more sobering future fleet, one built not around idealism or tradition, but around urgent necessity. Let's shift to a scene many don't see, the shipyard floor, early morning. The echo of metal against metal, sparks arching like tiny fireworks in the gloom. Workers measure, weld, grind. On a steel plate lies the outline of a future hull, destined, but now uncertain. Across the yard, a blueprint lies open on a table, not a light frigate, but a supply oiler, not a patrol escort, but a submarine tender, not a jack-of-all-trades, but a specialist with a clear purpose. Nearby, a quartermaster thumbs through rows of names, ships scheduled to carry them across oceans. A few are scratched out, others reprioritized. A steady voice, we carry on. Because the sea doesn't wait for clarity. It doesn't negotiate with budgets or broken programs. It demands readiness. There's a strategic undercurrent that few outsiders fully grasp. With peer rivals, especially those investing heavily in submarine fleets, stealth vessels, long-range missiles, the Navy's old model of many mid-sized surface ships may no longer offer the advantage it once did. The seas now reward stealth, surprise, endurance, and networked lethality. In that light, the Cancellation becomes less a failure than a course correction. A recognition that future maritime competition, high stakes, fast-moving, global, won't be won by numbers alone, but by adaptability, integration, and resilience. Over the next decade, submarines, logistics ships, supply oilers, unmanned systems, and fewer but more powerful surface combatants will define American naval power. The American fleet will evolve, sometimes painfully, shedding old skins for new armor. Yet the echoes remain. The hulls left half-built, the blueprints gathering dust, the hopes of young sailors still fresh. And in that unfinished business lies a quiet monument, to ambition, to risk, and to the uneasy balance between what is possible and what is adequate. In the end, the sea keeps calling. The Navy must answer, not with nostalgia, but with resolve. Because ships are more than metal and missiles. They carry dreams. Dreams of dominance, protection, and duty. Sometimes, those dreams change shape. They become leaner. Sharper. More unpredictable. But never weaker. And though the age of the Constellation-Class frigate may have ended here, the story of the fleet, the story of sailors, shipbuilders, strategists, continues. A story not of lost hulls, but of reinvention. The enormous waves still roll. The horizon still stretches beyond the edge of sight. And the United States Navy sails on.